Today we're going to breathe some new life into this helmet, making it a lot more practical and also more comfortable to wear. I feel like the ACH gets a really bad rap because it can be kind of uncomfortable if you don't know what you're doing. If you either have a helmet that's too small, or you just don't know how to set up your pads or your strap, this becomes a very uncomfortable helmet quickly. And as you can see on mine, I really don't have anything on there at the moment besides this NVG shroud. So today we've got a bunch of cool equipment here that we're going to use to completely transform this helmet and to make it into something that's a lot more practical to use. So I think one of the #1 things that you can do to improve the comfort of your helmet is going to be changing out your strap or a harness, depending on what you have on there. The issue with the one that comes with the stock ACH is if you're just wearing the helmet by itself, it's fine. It's got a little bit of padding in the back to support the back of your neck, but once you start to put some weight on here, especially weight on the front with a night vision unit, all of that weight, there's only two places that the helmet is really resting against your body, your chin strap and the back of your head. And you really need to kind of yank down on it in the back to get the night vision to sit right, and overall it causes some issues. So that's going to be the first thing that we replace today. We're going to replace that with a Team Wendy cam fit. Now these are amazing. I've got to use them on a lot of other helmets. And what makes this different than the traditional strap system is rather than just having those 2 points of contact on the back of your neck and on your chin strap, this fits a little bit more like a baseball cap where it wraps around the sides of your head. That makes it a lot more stable, it makes it easier to wear, and is just overall a huge improvement. So that's going to be the first thing that we put on this helmet, which means that I'm going to have to take off the old harness, which means I'm also going to remove the straps while we're at it, remove some of the padding as well. But why don't we make that the first upgrade that we do to this? So now that we've got this taken out, we can go ahead and put the Team Wendy on there. And what I like about this is it also comes with a brand new set of hardware, so we're just going to swap all of that out. And it also comes with some instructions. This is admittedly the most expensive thing that we're going to be doing to this helmet. These run about $150 or so, but honestly, like avoiding the neck pain, especially over the long term, is worth it in my opinion, and it's going to improve the comfort of this significantly. And the cool thing is you can kind of see before we put it on, it actually matches up with the helmet in more spots than one. Like hopefully, we'll put it on in a minute, but because it all links up to itself rather than just 4 independent spots on the helmet, it makes this a lot more comfortable. So why don't we go ahead and get this installed on there. Okay, so we finally have it how it should be set up. Now all we have to do is adjust the cam fit to fit better on my head. And admittedly, I do have a pretty large head in the grand scheme of things, but you can see this kind of strap right here, and that's what gives it a lot better tension. It fits more like a baseball hat like we were talking about earlier. And let me I took a pad out while we were installing this. Let me pop it back in there. So we've got that on, and then we throw this over it. And then the dial on the back, you might be able to hear it clicking through the microphone. And that is just already way more comfortable. Like we could honestly stop here just with the installation of this. I need to tighten up the chin strap a little bit, but this is just so much more comfortable than if I was using the standard strap here, because I feel the pressure like around my head rather than having it being focused on the back of my head exclusively. So this is definitely worth the upgrade, and I will say like it makes more of a difference on these ballistic style helmets. If you're using like an airsoft one, honestly, it's not the end of the world, but this will definitely improve your experience no matter what helmet you have. Now, the next thing that we're going to upgrade is going to be our pads, because the pads that I have in here are a little chunky. They're a mix of the standard ones and what I believe to be a knockoff of the Team Wendy Zap pads. I don't know if they're real or not. And because they're so chunky, they just they're bulky. It creates pressure spots around the top of my head. So I decided to pick up, actually, instead of getting like Zap pads directly through Team Wendy because they're ungodly expensive, I got some of the PTS MTEX Flux pads. This is their comfort liner system, and this is for PTS's replica of MTech's own helmet. So I'm hoping that by combining these with the normal pads that you find in the ACH, so we can get a nice combination that'll be nice and comfortable on my head. So why don't we start to play around with these, and I'll report back in a minute. The nice thing about helmet pads is you can really just kind of do whatever you need with them to make sure that everything is comfortable on your helmet. So like one of the things that I'm concerned about is the two teeth of the NVG mount. So I'm actually going to put a different pad in front of it to hopefully make sure that it doesn't like knock me in the head or anything crazy like that. Okay, so the cup is definitely going to have to be adjusted a little bit because it's a little light, but now, you know, I've got a mix of the PTS pads. I didn't use all of them, and some of the original, some of the Zap pads I had, and you can definitely notice a difference right away. This is a much more comfortable helmet, and all you have to do if you need to get some more space is just pull the little thing out. So I think this is pretty good right here. So now that we've got a lot of the comfort stuff down, let's talk about actually making this helmet look different. And one of the main things that I want to do is protect the coating of this ACH because it's already got some flaking on it. So we're going to put a helmet cover and some additional cool stuff on there. Now, for me personally, and I get that everybody isn't going to exactly like what I'm doing here, this helmet is for a U.S. Army infantry impression that I do as a part of Task Force KEG. So we're going to use an ACH helmet cover. Multicam is definitely around nowadays. However, for what we're doing, we're going to use a UCP helmet cover. And unfortunately, to do the UCP cover, I have to take off the NVG mount to put it on there. So let's remove the pads that I literally just installed and take this out. If I have a one-hole helmet cover like this, I like to get the NVG shroud first, because that's admittedly the hardest part to put back on. And then from there, I can worry about fitting it around the circumference of the helmet itself. But when these only have, like when you only have like a one-hole shroud like this, like on the Ops Corps ones, it's a little bit easier to put helmet covers on those. But for this one, I want to make sure that the hole lines up, that I've got the bracket on, because this is going to be the biggest pain to fiddle with, so I just kind of like to get it out of the way. My advice for you, if you want to buy a one-hole shrouded helmet, is when you buy the NVG mount, make sure it's one of the ones that has like this, the channel in the front of it for a flathead screwdriver, because this one is flat. And what that means is I'm trying to tension it with one hand, like there's nothing to actually hold it still on the other side, and it is a colossal pain to deal with. So when you're buying one of these mounts, because they're pretty affordable and they work with a lot of night vision, especially if you're somebody who's renting, it works with those mounts, I would definitely suggest that you buy one that definitely has the screwdriver hole in it. Otherwise, it's just going to be a headache for you to put on your helmet. So now let's actually go ahead and put the rest of this on. And the nice thing about these helmet covers, if you've never used one before, is they just attach to all of the excess Velcro squares and circles that you have on the inside of the helmet. And some of those will live under your pads, some won't, and that's totally fine because they really don't get in the way. And honestly, if you're in a situation where some of like the Velcro for your pads doesn't like the Velcro that's on the helmet, putting this underneath there just gives it another different type of surface for the Velcro to attach to. And in the case of these PTS ones, it actually is helping quite a bit to make sure that these pads stay in place. So now that we've got the helmet cover on there, the other thing that we do as a part of Task Force KEG is that we will put Scrim on top of our helmets. Now there are good commercial options. I think that Bees Combat Systems is a really good synthetic one. However, the unit SOP is that we use cut up Scrim. You can find this pretty much anywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this with the netting down and then just drape it over the helmet. I have used this on a helmet before, so somewhere there's actually a big cutout for the NVG that I'm going to have to find. And just lightly drape this over the helmet. And then just make sure if you're putting any sort of netting on your helmet that it doesn't actually interfere with the NVG shroud. That would not be very good because you don't want this to make you lose your night vision. And then what I like to do to secure this to the helmet, and this could use a good trimming, is first off, I'll use any of the Velcro closures on the helmet, the helmet cover. But then I will also, like, if I really want to make sure this stays on, you can always weave it through anywhere that you put on the actual harness for the helmet. You can put it underneath padding, really whatever you do, whatever you have to do to get this stuff to stick. And it's supposed to be camouflaged. It's supposed to cover up your face and your head, I should say, rather. So if it looks a little off, that's totally okay. You don't want it to be perfectly symmetrical because then that's just kind of giving away your silhouette. All right, and then now that we have that on here, it could use a little trimming so that it doesn't get into my eyes, but we'll deal with that later. The only thing that we really have left to install is a cap band, which I will just throw on. And this also helps to keep that scrimming down on the helmet, make sure that it doesn't go flying off if you run through a tree or something like that. And overall, that is, pretty much all there is to it. I do need to tuck this up and under the NVG shroud as well. But I think for less than an hour's worth of work, we got some pretty good results here. So let's take a look at our final product. Again, I think the Scrim could use a little evening out just to make sure that it's not flopping around anywhere. But with an extra 5 minutes of work, I think that we'd get something pretty good. So overall, I don't think this came out very bad at all. This will need some trimming, obviously, along the Scrim here. But I think, that's an extra 5 minutes of work or so. And overall, I think that we got a pretty cool looking helmet in the end of it. I think that we made it a lot more comfortable with the cam fit system. And then we have some vegetation on here to make it a lot more practical and also maintain the actual helmet itself. Unfortunately, ACHs are getting pretty expensive nowadays. They're starting to go for, upwards of $200 or so. I've seen some people try to get like $350 for them on eBay. So that's definitely unfortunate, but I think you can do this type of customization to any helmet and really make it a lot more comfortable, especially if you're trying to grab some surplus ballistic helmets. I think this will help a lot, but it'll also help for airsoft helmets as well. So I thought that this was definitely a fun video to do, and if you enjoyed it, make sure to let me know. This video was made possible by all of our BB Warrior channel members. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been able to afford to buy all this stuff to put this helmet together. So a big thank you to everybody who helps make this channel possible. If you want to learn more about becoming a member, it gets you some great perks, like being able to watch videos early, getting exclusive access to our Discord server, and first priority in the Roast My Kit series. That information, is all down in the description below. But thank you all so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.